What up, everybody? Lonnie here with Charts and Labs. It is Saturday the 3rd. We are kicking off 2026 quick and fast. Before we jump into this video on Solana, I just want to remind everybody that this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't have a fancy piece of paper that tells me that I am a financial guru by no means. I'm just doing this to kind of give you some insight in how I look at the markets, how I look at the charts, about the projects, things that I like, and all to give you some familiarity so that you're comfortable making your own decisions with your own money. I'm trying to build some wealth together. So let's kind of jump into this. And Solana is actually one of my personal favorites that I've been in. And let's jump into ChatGPT world so we can kind of give you a little breakdown on the introduction and why it was created and some details behind the project. So we're going to break down Solana, and it was created. So Bitcoin was created, and when it was built, the whole focus and the main thing that Bitcoin did was focusing on security. It was trying to be a peer-to-peer payment, but it didn't do that very well. What it did do very well was created a scarcity and a secure network, and that created itself to be a very good store of value, but not as good on the utility side. It was kind of slow and high fees. Then Ethereum came out, and Ethereum prioritized being decentralized and that being programmable for the layer 2s so that it could be the network that a lot of projects built on top of it so that they could all work. And that's how those kind of started. But they both struggled because their fees were higher as the usage came up. So Solana came along and focused on being that optimal high performance network so that fees were low and transactions were fast. So what Bitcoin was a proof of work, Ethereum proof of stake, and Solana introduced this level of proof of history. A cryptographic clock, basically, that the validators constantly rather than validators constantly coordinating on time per order, the transactions were basically pre-ordered before the consensus, which allowed the network to move faster. And then also at a parallel execution, they also ran with that similar proof of stake concept, which allowed them to be able to run thousands of transactions per second and keep those costs extremely low. So Solana is a token that is not just a speculative asset, but it is an entire network. Solana is used to pay transaction fees, stake and secure the network, incentivize validators, and increasingly participate in governance decisions. The staking protocols and staking that Solana offers is exactly why it's one of my personal favorites. If we jump over here, you can look, and Ethereum ranges between 1.5% and 8%, and a lot of times you'll see it in the 2 to 3 or 2 to 4%, where Solana, you have to stake for a year to get 8% out of Ethereum. Otherwise, it's 1.5%. But Solana, you can get 3.5% flexible, so it's already more than double what Ethereum is. And if you do 180 days, you get 8.8%, so half the lockup. That long-term lockup is how long the amount of tokens that you owned are basically locked, so that they are staked, and you get that reward on them, but you can't trade them and such. And those are used for the transaction fees and for stabilizing the network, which is the usage and the utility that they need. So let's scroll down a little bit. Usage based so Solana is a little bit flexible and has some peaks of usage and then some downtimes, which has been its Achilles heel, but it is getting better. Real world adoption and ecosystem, high speed DeFi trading. NFTs and low minting costs, consumer facing apps, gaming and real-time applications, and increasing for payments and that DPIN infrastructure, which is basically a definance infrastructure or decentralized infrastructure. It's not just speed, it's users can interact with applications without constantly worrying about gas fees or delays. That is a little bit of a stab at Ethereum. That's Ethereum's weakness. So that is Solana's strength, is right at what Ethereum's weakness is. Acknowledging the trade-offs. Solana has not been without its challenges. The network has experienced outages in the past, largely due to congestion and spam. Those issues forced hard lessons and led to significant protocol upgrades. The result is a network that is far more resilient today, but it is important to acknowledge that Solana prioritizes performance, and that comes with different trade-offs compared to slower chains. The fees can obviously be a little bit more. Transition to the chart. So now we're going to look at the chart real quick. I wanted to give myself a little bit of a guide on how we're going to walk at this. So what I did is I basically drew out the Fibonacci levels, and then I removed the then I removed the lines. You can see that these line up right here, high, low, and then I did my lines across. I just don't like how the Fibonacci lines do these colors, and they shade over, and then you cannot see the indicators, and to me it's easier to see just flat lines straight across. So we're going to come and just look at 2025. We don't want to look at too far. We're just looking at the last year. Beginning of the year, as many may know, with Donald Trump coming in, being very, very loud in his push for cryptocurrency in the USA, being the world leader in cryptocurrency, that caused an immediate run-up in cryptocurrencies because there was a little bit of uncertainty and a little bit of doubt that the other administration was going to have that same stance. But with that quick run-up, led to a quick drop-off as tariffs and all other things and headwinds came across and kind of smacked the market down. Speculative assets are going to get hammered hard and fast with uncertainty. And unfortunately for crypto, it's one of the most speculative assets. But one thing that you can see is that this drop off, obviously from this level, boom, to this level, boom, to this level, boom, to this level. So we have a very defiant stair step down. So now that we bottomed, we can see that there is building strong stair stepping back up, and we kind of came back down, and here we are doing it again. So now that we're in between this zone building, this is a good zone to add. So if you decide that you like Solana, you like a cryptocurrency that has a very, very high utility usage, and it's in the top 5 crypto market cap, tons of network usage, tons of people love this token and are using it. We have a quick little trend kind of going here that we're trying to hold. This weekend you see a lot of cryptos are getting up. Bitcoin got over 90,000, is now 91,003 and is running a little bit. Ethereum got over 3,000, is at 3150. And Solana also having a nice little run up right here. So crypto's getting kind of a little rally this weekend to start the new year. Go all the way back to the weekly. We can kind of see from way back in the beginning, it hit the exchanges in 2020. What a year that was. Big, huge run up, 250, come all the way back down, hit that 250 again, actually touched almost 300 before coming down. And there's a lot of analysis that are saying that Solana is a good solid 300. I've heard 1,000 on a super bull market where it would get kind of crazy. If you're in it for a long time, that could be something that you could see speculative wise. My favorite thing about Solana is the staking protocol, because I look at that 8% possible that I could be getting pretty comfortably, and And when I look at assets or investments over a year, I compare them to inflation and then the devaluation of the dollar and the buying power. If you cannot maintain at least 5% a year, you are kind of losing the battle. So if you're putting it in something that's only getting a 2 or 3%, cost of living raise that they say is what inflation is, you're losing to the devaluation of the dollar. So that's why this 8% yield, ah, staking it is a really good deal. And you can see that a lot of them are in 2 to 7, 3, 6. Again, Ethereum was only 1.5, Litecoin 1.5, BNB. I don't even think you do Bitcoin. 8%. Some of these have really high right now, and I'm assuming that that's because they're running some kind of promo or something to try to get established. Cardano is one that we're going to do also. This 100% for 120 days is pretty wild. 120 days, that's a promo because 365 getting 20%. But that's another good one. So those are ways to beat inflation, and why you got to look at Solana is a key one to put in your portfolio if you're adding to your crypto portfolio. I think we're looking, this 125 to 135 zone is a significant supply zone, but looking resistance in 145, 155. But long term wise, when you're staking, you're also going to have to be banking on the fact that you're looking at this project as increasing in value while you're staking, is the big gain. So Solana is a high performance blockchain with real world usage, real adoption, and a token model tied directly to network activity. In the crypto world, utility is king, utility is value. So where Bitcoin is thriving based on scarcity and the fact that it was kind of the original, and how it's built itself up in value now that it's so so scarce compared to the demand. The supply is so low compared to the demand, and it's kind of turned itself into the crypto gold, that store of value. Ethereum built itself to be kind of the oil and the bloodline of the crypto networks and the blockchain networks and those layer twos, and trying to be very program driven and utility based. And then Solana came in and said, well, let's figure out how to make these payments faster. Bitcoin wanted to be peer to peer, but it really not good at it. Ethereum itself is trying to process transactions and on moving currency, but it's not perfect for it. So Solana stepped in it and kind of buttoned in those gaps. And to me, Solana is a very powerful network, powerful token. Chart reflects maturity, no longer early stage hype, but the market is working through price discovery, major expansion. This is no longer about chasing moves, it's about understanding structure and timing. So when we look at it, if we look back and we're saying that this was only back since 2020, let's see, and on TradingView it only shows on 2021. So Coin Market Cap had it all the way back in, what was it, April 13th of 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. And look at that, how crazy that would be, that its opening was 61 cents and you're sitting at $134.67. So it's gone up $134 in its 5.5 years or so. Huge run up, and to be in the top 20 at that fast a pace. When we're looking at market caps, you obviously got Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether is a stable coin, and then you have XRP, BNB, then Solana. So if you take out USDT and USDC, Solana becomes the top 5, and it's really capable of moving up there. For a long time it was number 3, and this market cap is mostly based off what they're backed off of for the stable coins. That's why it's hard to count those, because they're not gonna appreciate. This one's always gonna be $1. This one's always gonna be $1, and these are the ones that will actually go up in value. So XRP will be next on the list of ones to do, and we'll jump into BNB. I'll probably do a Tether and USDC together before moving on to Dogecoin. And then I'll probably do like a Tron. I'll bounce around. I want to get all these. I want to get at least the top 10 or so, and maybe some specific ones. Some of these are worth doing, like Avalanche and Hyperliquid and Hedera HBAR. Are worth doing even though they're outside of the top 20, because I look at, I'm going to go to Pionex just because I have my picks right here, and these are what I personally focus on in the crypto world: Bitcoin, XRP, Ethereum, Solana, Chainlink, HBAR, Litecoin, Avalanche, TXC, and XLM. I probably would add in Tron. I want to get more into this one. I haven't done enough, but I feel like it's worth getting into. And then Cardano. This is actually probably, of all the crypto coins, I've made the most money on Cardano, profit-wise, from trading. But that was also back when it was significantly higher. But this one's another good staking protocol one that's going to be worth looking at and getting into. So, there's a little rundown on Solana. We're looking at good price range right now for those who are looking at building their crypto portfolio and don't have Solana already in there, or if you already do have Solana and you're looking for a point of value to get in. Looks like we're starting to have a little bit of a run here, and looking for some continuation, looking for that 145. So good time to buy if you are adding. But again, not financial advice. It's your money, your way. But if I had some money that I was ready to jump into Solana, I probably would be. I would have liked to get it down at this price on this confirmation of up, or any of these green positive momentum builders, but we are in strong momentum, strong bullish momentum on the 15-minute, on the hourly. These are all good buy points and strong momentum. Just kind of checking through some of these. And then the 4-hour is one of my more common time frames that I use when I'm looking at crypto, is the 4-hour. Just because it is a 24-hour market, I want to be able to get as much as I can, especially when I'm buying something as a long-term build, a long-term asset, that I'm not buying to trade on a quick, like if I was trying to trade, I'm looking at the 15-minute. And I'm trying to, see, okay, boom, 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 breakout, boom, let's ride it up. And then I'd be looking, when am I going to take profit? Or when am I going to get a reversal? We broke above momentum, confirm momentum. I would have bought down here to trade. I just hit a couple pivot points. This would be a good buy, sell, buy. Not ready to sell, but I probably would have on this. So trading wise, I use tighter, shorter indicators. When I am buying long term, I like using my longer term indicators. Makes sense, right? And again, Solana is one that I wouldn't be as much fixated on the price as much, because what I'm doing is I'm trying to accumulate and make that 8% staking yield, and or at least the 3.5% on the short term. And I'm not as worried about the price moving as much. But of course, if the price goes up too, then your staking reward is also better. But you're getting that reward on top of the token value going up. So big upside with Solana, with its staking rewards and its usage and adoption. So one to watch, one to consider. Check it out. If you like it, love it, put some money in it, make a lot of money, get wealthy. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Probably be XRP on the next one. Have a good one.